Chosen one, listen carefully, because what you are hearing right now is not just another message passing through the noise of your day. This is the moment the pressure begins to break. This is the moment heaven interrupts the battle that tried to wear your soul down in silence. Something has shifted, and if you have felt strange, restless, emotional, and unable to explain why your spirit has been trembling lately, it is because the war around your life has entered its final hour. You did not stumble onto these words by accident. There is a reason you are hearing this today. Heaven has made an announcement over your life, and the enemy that kept whispering that you would never recover, never rise, never be seen, has just been answered by a higher voice. The battle is over, but the weight of what you survived is hanging in the air, and that is why this message is meeting you now, right between exhaustion and breakthrough. Type yes if this speaks to your spirit. Chosen one, you may have noticed that your life has never moved like other people's lives. While others walked through open doors, you often walked through delay. While others received applause, you received silence. While others seemed understood, you were misread, doubted, and left to explain wounds you did not even deserve. And still, despite everything that tried to dim your fire, something in you refused to die. That was the mark of divine preservation. God has been preparing you in ways no one around you could recognize, because the calling on your life was never meant to be measured by ordinary eyes. You were never ordinary. That is why ordinary environments felt too small for your soul, and why even love, friendship, and family sometimes felt unable to fully hold who you really are. Listen carefully. The battle was never only about your circumstances. It was about your identity. It was about whether you would forget who you are before the promise arrived. It was about whether the pain would convince you that you were abandoned. It was about whether the long nights, the betrayals, the losses, and the constant spiritual attacks would make you question the hand of God over your life. That was the real target. Not just your peace, not just your joy, your memory. The enemy wanted you to forget that nothing about your life has been accidental. Every strange season, every closed door, every heavy goodbye, every moment you thought you were being buried was shaping a strength in you that could not be formed any other way. What felt like the end of you was often the beginning of a deeper awakening. You may have noticed that some of the hardest battles came with no witness. No one saw how many times you had to rebuild yourself in private. No one heard the prayers you whispered when your chest felt tight and your mind was tired. No one knew how many times you smiled while carrying pain that would have crushed someone else. Even in your hardest moments, there was a hidden hand keeping you from falling apart completely. You bent, but you did not break. You cried, but you did not collapse. You questioned, but you did not let go. And now that same heaven that watched you survive what should have destroyed you is speaking back into your life. This is your confirmation. What drained you will not define you. What attacked you will not announce your ending. The battle has been loud, yes, but the victory will be louder. Chosen one, there is a reason things felt delayed at once. The enemy knew that if even one part of your destiny came into full view too early, you would realize how protected you truly are. So confusion was sent, distraction was sent, false attachment was sent, weariness was sent. The goal was simple: make you tired enough to settle for less than what God wrote over your life. But look at you now, still here, still listening, still searching for truth. Still carrying a flicker of hope after seasons that tried to turn your heart cold. That is not weakness. That is evidence. Heaven never lost sight of you, even when you felt hidden from everybody else. And this is where it becomes deeply personal, because the battle did not only happen around you, it happened inside you. There were days when your own thoughts felt like a war zone, days when doubt sat beside faith. Days when you wanted to believe, but your heart was bruised. Days when you asked God why the calling felt so heavy, why purpose came with so much isolation, why your sensitivity made the world feel louder than it seemed to feel for everyone else. But chosen one, that sensitivity was never your curse. It was one of the signs. You feel deeply because you were built to discern deeply. You notice what others miss because your spirit has been trained in unseen places. You carry unusual compassion because you have walked through fire and learned how pain sounds even before it speaks. This is not random. The shaking you have been feeling is not a warning of your destruction. It is the sound of what no longer belongs in your life being removed. Some things had to break because they could not follow you where you are going. Some people had to leave because they were connected to an older version of you that heaven has already outgrown. Some dreams had to fall apart because they were too small for the real assignment. And yes, it hurt. It hurt in ways you could not always put into words. But what if the heartbreak was also mercy? What if the confusion was also redirection? What if the loss was not proof that God forgot you, but proof that God refused to let you live beneath what was written for your soul? Chosen one, hear this with your whole heart. The battle is over, but the transition out of war can feel unfamiliar. When a soul has been fighting for so long, peace almost feels suspicious. Rest can feel unnatural. Joy can feel like something that might disappear if you touch it too quickly. So if part of you has been waiting for the next problem, the next betrayal, the next delay, do not shame yourself for that. You have been in survival mode. Your nervous system learned to brace. Your heart learned to guard. Your spirit learned to stay alert. But heaven is gently teaching you another rhythm now. Not panic, not fear, not constant defense. A new rhythm. One where your faith does not only help you survive, but finally allows you to receive. Receive this slowly. The prayer you thought was delayed has been moving behind walls you could not see. The answer you thought was denied has been forming in a dimension beyond your timing. The promise did not die, it developed. And that is why what is about to enter your life carries such weight. It comes with the authority of everything you had to endure to be ready for it. It comes with the wisdom your pain carved into you. It comes with the discernment that isolation grew in you. It comes with the spiritual maturity that could only be born through waiting. This blessing is not shallow. It is not random. It is not temporary comfort. It is connected to your assignment, and that is why hell fought you so hard before it arrived. Maybe you have wondered why you always had to be the strong one, why you always had to hold space for others while secretly praying for someone to hold space for you. Why you could feel people so easily, yet so few people truly felt you. Why you could encourage others while silently bleeding inside. Chosen one, that ache has not been ignored. Heaven saw the hidden cost of your kindness. Heaven saw the nights you poured out tears no one would ever know about. Heaven saw the way you kept showing up with love in your hands after life gave you reasons to become bitter. And now the season of only giving is ending. What you have released in faith is circling back with increase. What you have sown in tears is returning with revelation. What you carried in secret is about to be answered in a way that even your enemies will not be able to deny. Comment Amen if you feel chosen. Chosen one of the deepest pains you carried was the feeling of being misunderstood. Not because you were trying to be difficult, but because there were things in your spirit that language could not fully explain. You knew when something was off before proof appeared. You felt shifts before anyone else noticed them. You sensed danger in places that looked safe. You pulled away from people and environments because your spirit picked up what your eyes had not yet seen. And then you were called too much, too sensitive, too intense, too different. But listen carefully, What they called too much was often your discernment trying to protect you. What they mocked was often the sensitivity that saved you. God built warning systems into your spirit for a reason. Nothing about your life has been accidental. Even the strange patterns are making sense now. Even the repetitions are revealing what needed to be healed. Even the disappointments are showing you what you once tolerated because you were tired, lonely, or desperate for peace. But you are not the same anymore. Something has awakened in you. Something holy. Something settled. Something stronger than emotion. You still feel deeply, but you no longer drown in every wave. You still care, but you are learning that love without discernment becomes self-betrayal. You still hope, but now your hope is rooted in God, not in unstable people. That is growth. That is transformation. That is what spiritual victory looks like before the world knows how to name it. Listen carefully. The enemy wanted your weariness to speak louder than God's promise. He wanted your delays to become your identity. He wanted your isolation to convince you that you were forgotten. He wanted your emotional exhaustion to make you stop one step before the breakthrough. Because that is how darkness works. It tries to make the final stretch feel endless. It tries to make the breakthrough hour feel like the breaking point. It whispers that all your prayers were empty. It tells you to lower your expectations, to numb your spirit, to call survival enough. But you did not come this far just to remain in survival. You were being shaped for overflow, and overflow always attracts a war before it arrives. Chosen one, you are entering a season where what was hidden in you will begin to speak for itself. Not through force, not through performance, through presence, through peace, through unmistakable fruit. People will notice something different before you say a word. Doors will open that effort alone could never unlock. The same rooms that once overlooked you will feel your weight when you enter. The same voices that doubted you will have to witness what God preserved in silence. And yet this is not about proving yourself. That chapter is ending. You do not need to perform your worth for people who only respected noise. Heaven is establishing you in a way that will make striving feel unnecessary. What is for you will not need begging. Type 777 if you trust God's timing. And yes, the attacks became intense because your breakthrough became close. You know that pattern. The closer you get to clarity, the louder the noise becomes. The closer you get to peace, the more disruption tries to enter. The closer you get to purpose, the more temptation invites you back into old cycles. But look again. Those attacks were not proof of weakness. They were proof of movement. Darkness does not panic over what has no threat to it. The resistance around your life was revealing the value within your life. The pressure was exposing the oil. The warfare was confirming the weight of what you carry. You have been under attack because you carry something the enemy cannot afford to let rise easily. Chosen one, some of you have cried over the same issue so many times that you became numb to your own ache. You learned how to function while silently breaking. You learned how to keep conversations going while your spirit felt distant. You learned how to show up in public while fighting invisible battles in private. And still, God kept you. Not perfectly, not painlessly, but faithfully. He kept the light on inside you when depression tried to darken every room. He kept the promise alive when delay tried to suffocate expectation. He kept your heart soft when betrayal tried to harden it forever. That is why this victory means so much. It is not just about what you are receiving, it is about what you survived without losing the essence of who you are. This is your confirmation that the tears were not wasted. The waiting was not empty. The losses were not meaningless. The silence was not abandonment. God has been preparing you. Even when nothing made sense, preparation was happening. Even when you felt stuck, preparation was happening. Even when everyone else seemed to move ahead, while you remained in uncertainty, preparation was happening. And now what was built in the dark is ready to carry light. What was healed in private is ready to shine in public. What was tested in secret is ready to stand in the open without collapsing. The battle is over because the lesson took root. The battle is over because your spirit did not break agreement with your destiny. Some people will never understand how much it cost you to stay kind. They will never understand how much strength it took not to become what hurt you. They will never understand the discipline it required to keep trusting God after repeated disappointment. But heaven understands. Heaven has kept record of every unseen yes, every resisted temptation, every prayer spoken through tears, every moment you chose faith over revenge, every time you got up when your soul wanted to stay on the floor. Nothing was missed, nothing was ignored. And because nothing was missed, nothing will remain unanswered forever. There is justice moving toward you, not only in dramatic ways, but in quiet, healing ways that restore what pain stole from your inner world. Chosen one, the victory being announced over your life is not only external, it is internal first. It is the victory of no longer agreeing with the lies that almost defined you. It is the victory of no longer calling yourself unworthy because others failed to love you well. It is the victory of no longer chasing places where your spirit has to shrink to be accepted. It is the victory of finally understanding that being different was never the problem. Being chosen always carries distance from what cannot understand you. But that distance was never meant to shame you. It was meant to protect the seed until it was strong enough to grow in open air. Like this video if you feel this confirmation. Listen carefully. What comes next in your life will require you to stop speaking from your wounds as if they are your permanent address. Yes, honor what you have been through. Yes, respect the healing journey. Yes, be gentle with your heart. But do not build your identity around the battle that has already ended. You are not only the one who was attacked. You are the one who endured. You are the one who discerned. You are the one who stayed with God in the dark. You are the one who learned how to hear heaven through static. You are the one who came out carrying wisdom instead of bitterness. That is who you are. That is who you have become. And for the one listening who almost gave up, this part is for you. The moments you thought you were disappearing were the moments heaven was wrapping itself more tightly around you. The nights you thought no one heard your tears were the nights God was strengthening you beneath the surface. The times you thought the silence meant no were often the times your spirit was being anchored so deeply that future storms would not be able to move you. Do not reduce your story to the pain you felt. Your story is also the miracle of how you kept going. It is the mystery of how your soul survived so much contradiction and still recognized truth when it arrived. Chosen one, your life is about to make sense in a way that heals you. Not because every question will be answered at once, but because the pattern will become undeniable. You will see why certain things could not stay. You will see why your spirit rejected what your flesh wanted. You will see why delays protected you from disasters wearing the mask of blessings. You will see why the loneliness trained you to hear God with unusual clarity. You will see why spiritual attacks increased whenever you got close to alignment. And when you see it, you will not only feel relieved, you will feel reverence. Because you will realize that even when you felt lost, your life was still being led. Type 1111 to affirm this message. So breathe, chosen one. Breathe without fear. Breathe without bracing for the worst. Breathe like someone whose name has been spoken in heaven with love and authority. Breathe like someone who is no longer fighting for a victory that has already been declared. The battle is over. The long night is ending. The confusion is lifting. The heaviness is breaking. The version of you that had to survive is making room for the version of you that is ready to receive. Let that sink into the deepest part of you. You do not have to force the dawn. You only have to recognize that it is already arriving. The battle is over, chosen one, not because you were never hurt, but because hurt no longer has the final word. Not because you were never opposed, but because opposition has reached its limit. Not because the path was easy, but because purpose proved stronger than resistance. What belongs to you is now being called forward. What was delayed is being released. What was buried in tears is rising in strength. Stay close to God. Stay soft in spirit. Stay awake in discernment. Stay open to the peace you once thought you had to postpone. Your victory has been spoken, your soul has been preserved, and your next season is already moving toward you with the sound of holy certainty.